Genesis 37 to 50, summarized at www.biblesummary.info. Joseph was Israel's favorite son. He had dreams, and his brothers were jealous, so they sold him. He was bought by Potiphar in Egypt. Judah's sons and Onan died, leaving Tamar a widow. Judah sent her away, but she put on a veil, and he slept with her. She had twins. Potiphar put Joseph in charge of his house. His wife tried to seduce Joseph, then lied about it, so Potiphar put Joseph in prison. Pharaoh put his cupbearer and baker in prison. Joseph interpreted their dreams. The cupbearer was restored, but the baker was hanged. Pharaoh had a dream and called for Joseph to interpret it. The dream predicted a famine. Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all Egypt. Joseph's brothers went to Egypt to buy grain, but didn't recognize him. He kept Simeon in prison and sent the rest to fetch Benjamin. When the grain ran out, Joseph's brothers went back to Egypt with Benjamin. Joseph invited them to his house and gave them a feast. Joseph hid his cup in Benjamin's sack and then sent a steward after his brothers. Judah offered himself as a slave instead of Benjamin. Joseph told his brothers who he was. They were afraid, but he told them, "God sent me here." His brothers went to fetch their father. So Israel set out with all his household. God told him not to be afraid. Israel and all his family came to Egypt, and Joseph met him. Pharaoh allowed Joseph's family to settle in Goshen. The famine continued, and the Egyptians sold all they had to Pharaoh for food. Jacob became ill, so Joseph took his sons to see him. Jacob blessed Joseph's sons as his own, putting Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Jacob gathered his sons and blessed each of them. He charged them to bury him with Abraham in the cave in Canaan, and then he died. Pharaoh allowed Joseph to go and bury Jacob. Before Joseph died, he said that God would lead his people back to the promised land.